Done. So, a warm good morning to one and all. Present over here. And the last session, we had a good experience and with Professor Manoj Kumar Pandey and Dr. Subinil Chaudhary. And really, we are very helpful learning of so many models and so many new things you can learn in the particular previous session. Because here we are academicians, research scholars, and students. Most of us are in the economic field and other disciplines also, right? So really, we are very happy, sir, in the previous session because we are thoroughly enjoyed and the enlightening session. We learned more. And also today's session also we will learn more of you. You can practically you can learning and you can learning so many other models and other activities in this data analysis paper. Most probably students are covered data analysis paper and research methodology papers, and even research scholars, even teachers also. We are eagerly waiting for this session, sir. So I welcome you to this second day workshop for data analysis, Stata and R Studio. Welcome you, sir. Please start your session. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Naidu. So basically, let me just start with. All right. So what we did yesterday was just introduction to Stata, and it's a quite preliminary one. And my objective was not to actually teach Stata yesterday, but to make sure that you know how to open Stata, you know where command is written, you should know where output is coming, what are different types of do file, log files, and then what you can do in Stata. So basically it was more sort of making you know Stata rather than learning, remembering the command, because if you know where to get it, where those commands and how to write programs in that, and get the help from the internet or Stata support, you should be able to do it. So this was the objective, and I think we did quite well, both on my part and as well as your part. So thank you for your patience yesterday. Now, today, I will do it a bit differently. So today, my objective is to go through many things in a more faster way, so that you can do yourself. So if you know, so yesterday, basically, if you don't know how to ride a motorbike, yesterday I taught you like where is gear, where is brake, where is wheel, where is speedometer, and so on. Today I'm going to start riding on bike, but then it will not be like a slow one. Like you have to go into 110 zone immediately after this. So if you feel pressure of that, if you think that it's hard to actually get in, learning it, don't worry, you will have to practice it. And all the materials are here. And if you're not joined Google Classroom, please do so. Everything is uploaded there. And if you think we did not learn much in these 2 days, don't worry. We will, last year during pandemic, I provided a lot of support to Indian students in many universities. So actually, I had started Saturday Stata classes last year, and it went for like 5 or 6 weeks. So once you settle down with this data, I might start that again as well. So you can learn. Meanwhile, you can organize your Stata software and everything. And also, if you have any question or concern, you just write there on the feedback in the stream. You provide your feedback and comments, and I'll try to answer those things. I'll provide you link if I cannot record and send, and I cannot make videos. So these are the support system I can provide even after the workshop. Now, so what I'm going to do today is I'm going to tell you, suppose you have your questions and your data in questionnaire. So you did a survey and you have a questionnaire, okay? How will you start doing analysis in Stata? So today's agenda is that how you are going to do data management, especially management of variables. Then we will move to graphics, some of the graphs probably you will be using, but you are hesitant to use because you don't know how to make it. And then finally, in the final session today, we will do econometric analysis using Stata. So I think it will be complete in a way, but then because I don't know your background, like, I really don't know how much you know, and that is one of the disadvantages of having online classes. But if you're feeling that it is getting somewhere like, जैसे इंडिया में बोलते हैं ना, ऊपर से जा रहा है. If you think like that, then my apologies in advance, but then I'm here to support you even after the workshop. So this much I can promise you. All right, so let's start. So today I am going to tell you how to name a variable in Stata, how to label it, how to write nodes, how to find variables if you have a big data set, how to change names of variables, how to generate, clone, sorting of data, creating subset of data, and transforming data from one form to another, especially from string to numeric and numeric to string. Okay. Some of these things we did already yesterday, so I will go a bit fast. But some people say that even my faster is slower, so so don't worry about it. Don't believe me, you just follow it. So let's start with the variable names. So what are the names of, what are the rules of naming variables in Stata? First rule is variable names should be short. It should be 12 to 32 characters, maximum 32, but smaller is better. Okay, so variable name should not be very big name. What if you have a big name? We will tell you what you will be doing with that. So a variable name may contain only the digits 0 to 9 and upper or lower cases, that is A to J. But because Stata is case sensitive, two variables sounding the same, like age, it will be treated as different. Capital AGE is different from small age. Okay. So as I said yesterday, if you remember, I said that when you are doing, when you are working on Stata, please off your caps lock. So work only with the lowercase. Now, Stata can use underscore or camel casing to separate words, like, family underscore planning underscore effort is fine as a name. Family, capital P, planning, capital E, effort. This is also fine. Okay. So although all four names are legal, you can, like, I put a lot of underscore, or I like this one. I don't like this much because it creates confusion. Don't use dot or comma when you are naming a variable. The first character cannot be a number. So you can't have like 1997 GDP or 2 GDP per capita. You can't have that. So the first character should be a letter, not the number. Okay. And I think Dr. Naidu may correct me. I think the same rule applies in the R as well. So better to start with the letter than character. You can always put number there. For example, GDP 1997 is fine, but 1997 GDP is not fine. Okay. So these are some of the rules of having variable name. Now, let me do it for you. Here, let's see how it looks like. So I'm going to basically I'm going to start a new one. So that you can understand what is happening here. All right, so here you go. So we have blank Stata software, and we have nothing here. Okay, and suppose you have a data. So let's start with some data. So let's say you have a crime data. Okay, where is the data? It's not data. So let's say you have a crime data, and I'm going to make it in Excel, and we will do step by step. Okay. All right. Okay. And suppose for the time being, I don't know the names of these variables. So we are going to name these variables. Okay. So now you can see here that this is your data where first row is missing, and you have to name all these variables. Okay. So if you remember yesterday, we will Control C, select it, Control C, go to this Stata, and then paste it here. Now, by default, the name of the variables will be var1, var2, var3, var4, var5, var6, and so on. But then you have to name it. So you can see the name var1, var2, var3, var4, var5, var6. Now, how many characters it has? Var1, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. But if I want to just change VAR. So basically there is a command called rename command because we are renaming it again. So I don't like VAR1. So I will put old variable name, and then I want to put, what was the initially? It was SID. So I can put it like SID. And then once I enter, it will be giving name SID. So variable VAR1 will disappear and SID will come there. But can we do in a different way without, if I don't know the rename command, what I can do? I can go here. You can see here name is VAR1. I'm sure you can see it. This one here, VAR1. So you don't have to worry about it. You go to VAR1, just delete it, or you can just say SID. Okay, but because it is logged here, it will not be changed. So now you have to unlock it, and this is SID. Okay. Now you can see by default the same command is coming here. Rename var1 SID. Same way, let's do it one more. Var2 is what? It should be state. So I click on var2. I will go here and then I will see it var1, var2. It should be STATE. Now what will be command here? Rename var2 state. The same way I'll do it for all these variables. Okay. But then what if you have hundreds of variables? What will you do? You will play trick. What trick will be doing? We'll go to do file as we learned yesterday. And then I'll do like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Basically, okay. And then I have ran var1, which was not there, which we already did. See what I'm doing. I'm actually writing a program to change the name of all the variables. Okay. But then this should be variable 2. This is 3, 4, 9, and 10. Now, when I run this, because we already have changed this one, we don't need to run it. We can, once we execute this, you will see that name of all the variables have already changed here. So you can see here. It was var2, var3, var4, var5, var6, var7, and so on. So now it has changed. And all the REN is the first three letters of rename. Now, why these all are small letters? Because if we put capital letter, can we do that? Can we put this, let's say, state variable as capital STAT? What is going to happen? It's a capital one. Is something damaging going to happen? No, it is not going to happen. Okay, it will change. But then when you write some command like, let's say reg, yesterday you learned regress, crime over state, if you write small state, it will not take it. Okay, so it is, let's make sure that we always work with one case at a time, but then preferably with a smaller case. And so I will just again rename old name of the variable, and then I want it to be converted. So you can see it's converted. So you can actually convert from one form to another form. Now that is done. That part is done. Now, if I want to put this, let's say SID, okay. Now, if I want to rename SID 1997 SID, do you think it will accept? Because the rule says that this number should not be, any variable should not start with a number. So let's check. It will not accept, because it says you attempted to rename SID to 1997 SID. That is an invalid Stata variable name. So Stata gives you that freedom that if you are making a mistake, it will tell you that, hey, you are making a mistake. It is invalid. I'm not going to accept it. Okay. So if you don't remember those names, Stata will make you correct. Now, another rule was that name should not be more than, okay. So set of states working for government. Okay. Now you can see that this variable is name is quite big. It's a quite large variable. Do you think Stata will accept? Let's check. It is accepting. Why? Because it is still not 32 character. But let's say SID of state working for government or federal government since 1997. Okay. What is happening now? Now it is saying that one new variable name is invalid. Why? Because you have now more characters. It should be limited to 32, but it is now more than that. Okay. So what we learn here is that if you don't follow those rules, Stata will not accept your variable name. Okay, so rename of this again SID. So we are back now. All right. All right, great. So variable name is done. Now the second thing that we want to learn is variable type. How many types of variables we have? Generally, we have numeric values or string values. Okay. Within numeric value, there are bytes, integers, longs, float, or double. Okay. So in Stata, variables can be transformed from one to another. Now, I'm not going to teach you what is bytes, what is integers. Integers, everyone knows. What is longs, what is float, what is double. So please work on that and you will see it. But then Stata can actually store your numeric variables in these forms, different forms. Okay. So let's do it. Now, look at this variables property here. Type is byte. Do you want to convert it byte to, let's say, float? Okay. Do you think it will agree? It agrees. So what is happening here? Which command I am using in a way? I am using recast command. So what recast command does here? It changes SID variable into float. Now from float, I don't like float here. So let's put double here. What is happening now? Float to double. So if you want to change from float to double, it is very easy. Either you remember this recast double SID or recast float. Now, if I want again it back to be byte, so I will put recast byte SID. And now you can see here that this type is byte. Now format is percentage 8.0G. It means that it can go up to 8 digit or 8 characters. All right. So these are the variable types. And if you are not sure which variable types all variables are, you can check here. So variable types are like SID is byte, state is string, crime is integer, murder variable is float, percentage metro population is float, and so on and so forth. Finally, region is byte. Okay, and then here is a note: data sets had changed since last saved. Okay, now I don't like this note. I said no, this is not good. Okay, so I'm going to write another note. What note I want to write? Any guess? This data has significantly changed during Stata workshop. Okay, and then I entered it. So what is happening here? I wrote a note about this data in this data set. Which command I used? Note command. Okay. Now, if you want to see all the notes that is written by your someone who has worked with this data previously, let's say note. Okay. Now you can see my note is appearing here. This data has significantly changed during Stata workshop. I'm again writing another one. Okay. I'm writing like please don't touch this data. Okay. So if suppose I am giving this data to someone whom I think that that person might deliberately change my data, so I need to warn that person so that he or she can actually see the note and say, okay, fine, this person doesn't want to touch this data. Okay. Now, once I put note, I have now two notes here. You can see. Please don't touch this data. So any note that you want to write, Okay, you can have many. So this data is from Uldry's book. Okay, now again put note. Now you can see you have all the notes here. So even after 10 years, 15 years, if someone will someone will use this data and just type note here, that person will know the history of this data, who worked with this data, who did not work with this data, and what kind of changes that has made. So any change that you are doing in this data set, you can write it here. Okay. So you can work on notes. So this is called note command. So what we cover so far, how to name a variable, what are the rules of naming variable, how to change type of variable, and then we learned about the nodes. The most important command that you will be working with the data management is the labeling. Okay, so you know that there is a restriction for variable name. You cannot have big variable name. So sometimes if you like, let's say SID, someone may not understand what is this SID means, because SID is a small name. So someone can say student ID, someone can say state ID, right? Someone can say school ID, so many people can think this SID variable in a different way, because there is a confusion here. To avoid that confusion, you can have this label here. Okay, so this label will make you if you write here what is the meaning of SID. Basically, if you explain this here, it will be easy. So what is command there? It is called label, because you are doing labeling. What label you are doing? Because you can do label to data, you can do label to so many things. Here we are doing label variable. Which variable? SID variable. And then what is this ID is? State identification, or ID. Everyone understand ID, so it should be fine. Okay, you can write like US states ID or Indian states ID. Okay, and then once you enter this, you will see that the blank here near label had changed. So I'm going to do this. You can see here now. Okay, now we had described it here, and value label and variable labels were missing here. Now let's describe it again. Indian states ID. So basically, you are giving label to this any variable, and that's why, and that makes sense, right? So rather than calling me, Manoj Kumar Pandey, you can have MKP or MP. Okay, that's fine. But then you are generating a variable MP equal to, let's say, what is my value? 0. Okay, so a variable is created here, right? And then you put label variable MP as Manoj Kumar Pandey. Now anyone can work with MP, but then the label of this MP is Manoj Kumar Pandey, not member of parliament or something. Okay, there is no confusion anymore, because you have labeled this MP here. All right. So once you do labeling, you can do label for all the variables, state, crime, let's say crime. Okay, so label variable crime, and then you can have crime rate in USA. Okay, so you can change labels here. Now, if you don't want to type here, you can just type here as well. I don't want this crime rate in US. I want to put crime rates. Okay, now this will change. Now it becomes crime rates. So either you can change through this property. The only thing you have to remember is that here there is a lock. If you click here, it will be now logged. Now you need to unlock before making any change here. So that you have to keep in mind. Otherwise, either you go through this command one or you change here, it's fine. Okay. So the next one is, so label variable is done. Then what is label defined? What is label defined? Label defined creates a value label named label name, which is a set of individual numeric values and their corresponding labels. Okay. So here is a syntax. You can find it in the help one. But then let me give you an example directly. One thing is important is that label name can contain up to 65,536 individual labels. Each individual label can be up to 32,000 characters long. So, if it is not covered in the variable label, you can have a label defined. So I'm going to use this example for my to show you. Okay. So I just copied here. And this is so easy, isn't it? Now, you remember this sysuse, we use sysuse because the data was in the system. Now this web sysuse is because this HBP4 is not available within the system, but it is available somewhere in the web, on the internet. Okay, so we will use web use. So web use command will open this data set, which is in I'm replacing it because there is a data here. Okay, so this data will be lost. Option replace is not allowed. Okay, fine, because it is web use. So I'll just make clear and then web use. Now my data is picking up data from the internet. So this data was not in my system, nor my computer, nor hard disk. Neither it was in the data. It was somewhere in the on the internet. Okay. So this is the data set about HBP. Now, the next one was describe. So let's describe these variables: ID, CT, year, age group, race, HBP, female. Now, we know that label variable HBP is high blood pressure. So we are going to label that variable. So what will happen? Because HBP is not labeled yet, we are going to label this. Okay. Now it is high blood pressure. So what is HBP? We really don't know. It is high blood pressure. Then let's see what this high blood pressure variable looks like. It's like 0 and 1. Now we really don't know it. What is 0 and what is 1? So, and look at the data here. It is 0 and 1. Okay. Now some magic is going to happen in next couple of seconds. I'm going to run this label define s no 0 no 1 s, and something has happened to the data. You can see here 0 1 2 3 4, something has happened, but then you can't really see it. Okay, but then we have defined label yes no as 0. If no, 1 means yes. So basically this 0 is no, 1 is yes. But then still it is not captured. You know why? Because that is next one. After label define, we can have label values. Okay. So if you see it, label values attaches a value label to the variable list. Because that value definition, the label that you define is not attached to the data. It is related to that, but it is not it attached to it. So to attach it, what we will be doing is this one, because we already did this, then we did this, then we label that variable, then we define this s no as Now this, what we are going to do is, we are going to give label values. After label define, we have label values, HBP, which variable we want to put label value into, HBP, which label, yes, no. So the moment I will enter here, things will change and it is no more a secret, okay? Now, if you go back here, you will see it has changed. So wherever there was 0, it is now no. Wherever there was 1, there was yes, it is yes, okay? So now it has changed. Earlier, the same way for race, like you can see here race, like race 1, 2, 3. We really don't know what 1 is, what 2 is, what 3 is. Okay, so what I'm going to do quickly is label define race type, race category. Okay, then 1 is, let's say, black. Okay, 2 is white. Okay, you can put a small one, that's fine. 2 is white and 3 is other. So what I'm doing basically is I am defining a label which I can attach to anyone. It is a generic one. So I have defined this race category 1, 2, and 3. And now you have to attach. You can attach it to basically race. You can attach it to any other variable that you think it fits into. Okay. Now the next thing we will be doing is label values, and then which variable I want to attach race. What is the name of the label is this one. So far, it is 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3. Okay. Now, the moment I will enter this here, it is going to change now. See, white, others. So wherever there was 1, it is black. Wherever there was 2, it is white. Wherever there was 3, it is others. So you can actually attach values to your variable. Okay. Now, one thing you can see here, value label was blank initially, but now that we have put race category, this is mentioned here. Okay, you can go here and you can see there are 3 value labels available here. If you want to change it to this one, it will be 0 and 1. It should be. This one is the sex label, which is the third variable label. It was already in the data set. Okay, so I'm fine with this one. The female, for female, this label was there. But then if you want to do a yes, no, it will be yes, no now. You can see for the female, yes, no. Initially, it was something else. What was that? It was ACXLBL. So now if you go back and check, it is male, female. So you can change your value label, and it is very powerful, especially when you are working with the survey data. So if you're planning to work with the survey data, this is a very powerful data management tool that you will have. Okay. So after label values, we have other labels. You can have label data, label list, label copy, label drop. If you want to drop label, that is also fine. This is high blood pressure is the label, but you don't like label anymore. You don't want anyone to let that HBP is for high blood pressure, because people might use your data. You might have some insecurity, or you might have some confidential data which you don't want to let people know what this HBP means. Okay, so you're working for some secret agencies and creating a data for those secret agencies, and you don't want to make everyone knows what these variables are labeled as. So you have a command called label drop. Okay, you can drop these labels, but you put all. Okay, so what is happening here now? All the labels are dropped. So if you go and see this one here, there is nothing here. If you look into the value label now, there is nothing here because all the value labels are dropped. So if you see here, you will not find even a single one with any label because you have dropped it. So anyone looking at the data, this female, they can only guess that one is female and 0 is male, but they cannot say for sure because you have dropped the label. So now this data is more secure. You know that data security is also a big issue. So now people are trying to code their data in such a way that it does not, it cannot be recognized what is there and what is not. Okay. So done. You can have a label directly, label save, all sort of label. Notes command I already taught you. Okay. Then you have a look for command. This is very interesting command. Suppose you have very large data set, okay, very big data set you have, and you really don't know where is age variable, where is this variable and that variable. You are worried about that. Okay? Then let me see if I have a data set that I can call it a big data set. I mean, large data set. So basically, you are in that case, what you are going to do, you are going to look for those variables. Even if it is a small data set, that is fine. You have to look for those variables. And once you look for those variables, you will be able to, you know, so let's say I have this. Let's say I have this data set, okay? This data set. And it has how many variables? How do I know how many variables it has? Which command you will be using? DES, describe. And it will tell me how many variables I have. Come on, there is a problem here, right? So it is, you cannot see this. There is a way of doing that. You will have to have set more on. Okay. Now if I do DES, it will be coming like this, but it will be like, it will be in my control. So here you can see here. Observation 16,021, number of variables 2,849, and size of the data is some 55,000 byte or something. Okay. Now, if I'm interested in a particular variable, okay, and that variable is, let's say, so because my job is done, I'll just break it. Okay. Suppose I am interested in a variable that is, I just remember like it should be related to the wealth variable. Okay. So I would look for wealth. Okay. I don't really know the name of the variable, but I know that it is somehow related to wealth. Okay. So I will use look for wealth, and this data will give me options. It will say this HB273, which is wealth index combined. No, I don't want this. HB271, which is wealth index factor score. HB270, it has wealth in it. It has wealth in it. It is wealth. So suppose I am interested in this one. Oh, I need this one. I got my variable. I don't have to look for those variables one by one and among 2,800 something variables. Okay. So now I can tabulate wealth quantile, and then I have this variable. Okay. Now suppose I am interested in after wealth, I am interested in the region. So look for region. Okay. So when someone say, can you find Dr. Naidu, what you do? Basically in Stata, you are saying, look for Dr. Naidu, okay? And then Stata will look for Dr. Naidu, who is present here in the Zoom session, okay? So if you want to look for a variable, you just say look for region, look for Manoj, look for any variable name, and done, okay? Look for Manoj, okay? Is there anything here? Yes. So one variable with Manoj, because I created this variable, so it is there, right? So any variable with that, don't look for like Manoj. You just say, MA or MAN. It will still find, but then you will have more variables other where there is a MAN. Can you see MAN? The MAN of women. So Stata will find out, you can have even M, but then you will have, it will give more choice. So you'll have to choose more. So more precise you are, more, quickly you can get your variable. All good? So if you are put WEL, so now that I don't need this, because every time this more will disturb me. So I will do set more off. Okay. Now it will not disturb me. All right. So look for command actually searches for a particular variable. If you want to look for if you can give some some characters, some digits, that is some numbers that is there in that variable. Okay, it's a very useful command. Rename command, you already know. You have rename, and then you have old variable name, and then you have new variable name. So we already did that many times. Sometimes, like you are used to of using this small and capital, right? So as I told you yesterday also and today also, I repeated that always use lowercase when you are handling with this data. But then not everyone follows it, right? Not everyone will be bothered. Suppose someone has you get the data from someone where this HBP is actually HBP. Okay. You have this race is RACE in it. Now you see that these two variables are actually capital, in capital, they are uppercase. But you are not used to of working uppercase in your variable. All right. Now this will be problem, right? Like if you give this kind of data to me, I start feeling like anxiety because I hate capital letters in when I'm working on this data. So I start feeling like anxiety. So what to do with this? Either you change every one as you did here, or there is a command you can use to make it. So there is a command called rename star, comma, lower. If it is lower, you want to have all upper, then rename star upper. Okay. If you need a proper one, then it is rename star proper. Okay. So I'm going to use rename star upper or lower. So REN star comma lower. When I will put this lower here, what will happen to these two variables? Let's see. These two variables automatically becomes lowercase. So you don't have to change the name of variables from uppercase to lowercase or from lowercase to uppercase one by one. You just have this REN star comma lower REN star comma upper REN star comma proper. So what this proper will do here? It will make you remember if you work with this F3, that changes, like here in proper, what is the first letter should be capital letter, and then you have small letter. So first letter is uppercase, and then rest is lowercase. So if you like this, you can always convert into proper. But if it is proper, you can always have lower. You can always have upper. Okay. So now this is all upper, but I hate it So I'll go for lower. Done. Once it is done, then it comes like a okay. Now another command is that is you have, if you want to put some add some suffix or prefix in a variable, that is also fine. Like I want to put all these. I want to put suffix in all these variables. So basically, I'm going to do it like this. It's called, the command is called rename star is equal to whatever you want to add it. Okay. So let me try for you here. Rename star means all the variables equal. Let's say Manoj. What is going to happen? It is not going to happen. Okay. So what I'm going to do now? Look at this, or I will go to something else, right? If you want to put this one is used. Okay. So what I will do is I will use some intuition. I will say star underscore Manoj. Let's check it. So all the variables has now underscore Manoj. You can see here. Okay. Now if you hit this, if you want to have like March or April or created, that is also fine. Now ID underscore Manoj underscore created. So it happens for all the variables. So this is quite useful sometime. Like you are working in a team and someone gave you data. What time is, how much time we have? Okay. So someone gave you data and then some variables you have created. So there could be two incentives for changing the name in your name for those variables, because one is that you should know which variable you have created and which was previously given. The second thing is that sometimes there is a competition among colleagues, like who has created which variable, and then when it goes to appraisal for the boss or somewhere, you need to make sure that your boss sees that these variables you have created. Okay, so if you're working in that kind of environment, then you will have ren star. So what this star did is it took all the variables and created star underscore created, and it put it there. And because underscore Manoj was already there, so you can create any number, but it is very useful sometime when you are making your own data sets. Generate command, I already explained yesterday. Okay, but then we did not doegen command. What thisegen command is, it is an extension to generate command. Okay, so for example, like if you want to add, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just okay, and then again I will do the same, and then I will go back to. So you are back now. Now, suppose someone says that, can you find the maximum of race and HBP for each variables? Then I will be usingegen command.Egen max of race and what was the next, another variable, HBP equal to maximum of these two variables, HBP, race and HBP. Okay. Race HBP is not found. Can we do this? No. So we really don't know what is happening here. Okay. So what I will do is I'll send it to help. Now the Stata will tell me that you have forgotten something, and that is why I gave you the error. Okay. So you can see in always go first in the example and see if it is there. If not, then you can go for like EGN equal to something here, and maximum you will find somewhere here. Okay. Right. Maximum of that. So you can have maximum of, let's say, race here. Okay. Now it is fine. It does not take two variables. So maximum of race is 3. You all know like 3 was. So it has created another variable with max underscore race underscore HPP, which is 3. So done. So EGN command is quite useful when you are basically looking for like creating interquartile range. You are creating maximum, minimum, median, mode, okay, percentile. Sometimes if you have a poverty data, or if you have income data, you are interested in which quantile or which percentile, and how many people are in first quartile and second quartile and third quartile. You can do that. You can have a ranking, row first, whole lot of things you can do using this EGN command. All right, it is called extensions to generate. In generate, you can have log, exponential, absolute value. Yesterday we saw that, right? Now, EGN command is a special command that you should know if you are interested um, in counting different variables. Like if you have variable 1 is, let's say, number of fruits person A has. B variable is number of fruits person B has. Now you want to find out total number of fruits, then you just have EGN total equal to A plus B, and you will get both the columns added, and you get a new variable. All right. So after EGN, you have a dstring command. If you have a string, you can dstring using dstring command. You can clone a variable as well. You know clone. I hope everyone knows clone, right? The exact copy of the existing variable. So you can have two variables with the exact copy. Why it is needed? Because some variables are very sensitive, and you don't want, if you're doing calculation, you don't want to change anything into the original one. So you can create a clone, and then you can do it, right? So it's like Ramayana, right? In Ramayana, रामचरितमानस में क्या है कि असली सीता को राम ने वन में छोड़ दिया और नकली सीता रावण के साथ गई. So same, मतलब you have an exact copy just to make sure that one is secure and the other one you are working with. Okay. So if you are having a sensitive data, if you don't want to make it change, or if there is a risk of losing information, then you just create a clone variable and then work with that. Okay. It is always safe to work with the clone variable. So which command you will be using? Clone variable. And what is syntax? Clone variable, new Sita equal to old Sita. Okay. And then a new Sita will be created. All right. Replace command. After generate, you can use replace command. So generate, let's say I am creating, let's say, dummy for this city. Okay. So tab city, comma, generate d underscore city. So now there are 4 cities in this data, so there will be 4 dummy. You might have done in your econometrics that if you have n categories, then you have n dummies. But then when you will be using in the regression or somewhere, you will be using only 3 of them, either 2, 3, 4, or 1, 2, 3, and 1 will be reference period, reference category. Okay. So now I have created these dummy variables for city. If city is 1, city 1 is here, then it will be 1, 2, 3, 4, it will be 0. Everywhere there is a 0, it means This is not CT1. Okay. Then you have CT2, CT3, CT4. I have already created it. Now this is the generated, but then I want to change 0 with 1. So replace D underscore CT1 equal to 1 if CT3 equal to 0. CT3 equal to 1. So here you have replace D underscore CT equal to 1 means there will be all the places where any number, any value is in D underscore CT1. It will replace by 1 if D underscore CT3 means the third variable is 1. Remember, yesterday I said that if after if statement you have double equal, and double equal is used after if. If I don't use double equal, if I use single equal, then what will happen? It is a invalid syntax. So if you are making mistake, and if it is saying invalid syntax in replace, you should always check this if it is double equal or single equal. Once you put double equal, then it will be done. So the next one is replace command. Then if you want to sort, I think everyone knows how to sort. Sort, let's say race. So look at the race variable. Race is 2, 2, 2, 2, 2. But then if you want to sort by race or sort race variable, then you have sort race. Now it will be different, isn't it? Now the race is 1, it is in ascending order. Okay. Now it is the data is sorted by race in ascending order. And this sort data is always you use in Excel, right? So you use sort here, right? Ascending to descending, descending to ascending. The same thing you are using with the sort command, but you don't have to select it and go and click there and then choose for which row, which column you want to select by. It is just simple. Sort by race. I want to sort by race and HBP. Done. Another one is advanced version of this one, which is G-sort. Okay. So if you put G-sort plus and variable name, it will be ascending order. If you put G-sort minus, it is descending order. So when I put sort, it by default it is ascending order. But then I want it in descending order. So G-sort minus this. Okay. Now if you see, it will be in descending order. So the highest will be first, then 3 will be the first, and then at the end you will find all the ones. Okay, all the ones here. All good. If you want to go for like ascending order, you have plus race. So G-sort command will give you ascending or descending order. Order, sometimes you hate like you are working more with HBP, but then year and others are on top, you can always have order. So I want my first variable as HBP, then female, then max, and then these 4, and then I want this. And then finally, I want ID, maybe. When I order it, my order of these variables will change. Okay. You can see. Now the ID is at the end. Why race is at the end? Because I did not write race here. I forgot it. So whatever you forget, it will be at the end. But then the rest of these will be in the same order. First HBP, then female, then max, and so on. So you can always choose your order. So now I want to go back in the same way where my data was, and then it should be fine. And then race was somewhere here. All good. So you can order, you can reorder. It is up to you. Okay. You can order, you can reorder, and then it should be fine. So order command is there. D-string, if you have a string variable, you can D-string it. Okay, it's very simple. Describe command, you already know. List command, you can list your variable list. you can have all the variables. If you want to have only one list variable, list of year, you can have this. So basically it is just to check, make sure that something is not wrong here. So list command is useful. Then you have tabulate command, we already used many times. Means command will give you all three types of means. Okay. You remember in the summary a tab stat that we used yesterday, only arithmetic mean was given. But then if you're interested in geometric mean or harmonic mean, which is quite useful in some of the cases, especially price and others, then you can have like means of that variable. It's means of not executive. There is nothing here which is a number. So let me try here. Okay. So arithmetic mean is arithmetic mean is this, geometric mean is this, harmonic mean is this. So you have all these type of means that you be using. Okay. Summarize, and I already created dummy variable, so you should be able to do. If you want to drop any variable, you can have a drop command. If you want to keep any variable, you have a keep command. And if you want to exit Stata, you can have exit. Simple. You don't have to, either you put clear or you put exit comma clear. So I understand that I rushed a bit, but then this is I'm expected to do today. So, but then as I said, that you should be fine if you try it yourself. And if there is an issue, please write on Google Classroom, and I will try to respond to that. So this is done. We still have 20 minutes. Is it Dr. Naidu? Because sometimes I'm getting confused with the time difference.
No
so
problem.
It is 4:40 here, so it's
or 5 minutes or 10 minutes.
Yeah, so I'll go for like 20 minutes and I will show them the graph. Okay.
Yeah. You want to?
So this is graph which is quite useful, especially when you are undergrad student or even with the master students. Graphs are something that is very underutilized among economists. Okay. They tells a lot of stories, but then we as an economist, we like more sort of regression and but then we don't visualize much. So you can go through these lecture notes. I am not going into this. So graph is done. Graph is done, but then I want to show you something which you will be using, and you will like it. So I have created a do file which can help you in making graph. So yesterday we saw some of the graphs. So for example, like we have this CCU's data. Let's say I'm now getting rid of this data here. CCU's auto, and I am interested in histogram. Okay, I'm interested in histogram of MPG. So I have this program here which I can use. So histogram, MPG, and then everything is given here. I'll just run it, and then I will have this. Okay. Now, if you're not interested in MPG but in other variable, you just have to take the same command and take another variable, say price. Okay. And then you can change histogram of price. What a mileage surgery. What a price surgery. Okay. So you change it. Okay. Frequency. Then you have price, which is here, Y title basically. Caption, figure 1, scatter plot, note, source is used or by foreign. Okay. So now I'm expecting a price variable. The same graph, same graph you found, which we had with the MPG, right? Isn't it a beautiful graph? And you have all the labeling in one line. You don't have to do label again and again, first x-axis, then y-axis, then color, and so on and so forth. But if you don't like color, then you can do as we did yesterday. Let's look into, if you don't like this, if you want to have a blue, you can have a blue. Okay, so it takes, less than 30 seconds to make a graph for you if you have this do file with you. Okay, so you don't have to worry about much. There are graphs that you can use in, let's say I run this, so what I get it, this graph. Okay, so this is a scattered graph, right? Price and mileage here. Let me run this one. This will give you, with different data, life expectancy data, it will give you a scatter plot. Okay, this is the graph you will get. A scatter plot with different patterns, with different data. This is a census data which I have uploaded. This kind of graph you can make. In next 2-3 minutes, you will see many types of graphs. This type of graph. Okay. So a graph की प्रदर्शनी है. You can see it. Different, any type of graph you want, let me know, and we can find out. See this type of graph. So if you are interested in this type of graph, you just have to change some of the numbers here. Like, this is called horizontal bar. You have to change this. This is January temperature, so it might be something else, like inflation or something, and then you change some of the titles, and then you will get it so quickly. This is like this. This is box plot. So I'm sure many of you know how to interpret it. It gives you 5 statistics: minimum, maximum, first quartile, second quartile, interquartile, median, and then you can compare before, after. Okay, so this data is from fictional drug trial, where after effect of drug by gender is given. So another one here.
Sorry for the interrupt, sir. Someone is mentioned that slowly you can go to explain the crops in the text.
Slowly.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Then I will not be able to cover this one, but okay, fine. I accept it. Yeah. So pie chart, right? I know that pie chart is our favorite chart, but I hate it. And you should not, I don't advise anyone to use pie chart because it is quite misleading. But first, I think this is the first chart we learned whenever we do this. So you can have pie and then population. Okay, you can have another chart like this type of pie chart. Okay, don't worry if you don't understand, that's okay. This is third type of pie chart. This is a fourth type of design. You will see like one will be, one part of the cake is out, which is important, and you want to just focus on that. This north central is 26.06%. Okay, now if you want to make this graph, let's say if you want to make pie chart, a pie graph of from your data here, what you'll be doing, you will be taking that one from here and come here. So you have graph pie that will remain same. Now here there is no, there is a population here as well. So I don't want population, but I want like death. Okay, and then over region, and then pi to explode, and then pi level is 2%. Okay, let's see. Basically, I got this 26.33 because this is a death data. This is not a population data anymore. Okay. If I am interested in other variable, just change the variable like number of marriages. Number of marriages 23.87% in the North Central. Okay. So you can have this data, these graphs simply by changing variables into it. So it is a ready-made program which you can fit in. Then we have, we already did scatter plot, so I'm not covering that. Sometimes in scatter plot, you need different pattern and you also need some sort of confidence interval, right? So let's run this. This kind of scatter plot you can have where there is a 95% confidence interval. So this shade area gives you 95% confidence interval. So you can see that most of the data is within 95% confidence interval, and those which are not, you can safely call them outlier or something. Okay, they are not behaving as per. Okay, so and then you have line graph. If you work with the time series data, you have to have affair with the line graph. Okay, so look at this. So this data is there, and this kind of line graph you can have. Life expectancy in the y-axis, year is in the x-axis, and you have for different races, white males, black males, and you also have a difference between white males and black males, and you have fitted values that you get it from the linear regression. Okay, y hat, if you remember Dr. Naidu's class. All right. Yes, we can accommodate another graph, line and bar. So sometimes, you see whether should I choose line graph or should I choose bar graph. But then you might also think, innovatively that I want to incorporate both line and bar in one graph. That you can also do here. And you might have seen this kind of graphs, which is generally made in eViews or in Excel, okay, in R as well. So you can see here, the bottom one is the bar graph, and the up one is the line graph. Histogram is famous. We created one histogram, but if you want like 2 standard deviation, 1 standard deviation, mean, +1, -1, everything, to let people know most of the statistics about this data set, then you have, so it doesn't look like a normal because mean is, this is a skewed one. We will see in the econometrics one. Sometimes you like to have a histogram with normal distribution. You remember this bell-shaped curve in the histogram? You can use this here. Okay, so this looks like a normal one, but you'll have to see the other test to see if it's exactly normal or it's close to normal. Okay, so then two-way area, which it's a fun, this kind of graph. You can have a two-way area. And why I'm rushing, because my aim is not to teach you how to make it, but I just want, I will give you this do file which you can click and you can always do by yourself. It's a fun. Give it to kids and they will like it more than us. So here is the graph matrix that we saw. Sometimes you need to combine two types of graphs together. You can also do that. So here you have, what is happening here? Two graphs combined. So what Stata did, first it created the first part of graph, second it created second part of graph, and then combined it beautifully in one graph. Sometimes you have so many graphs to do that. So you can actually have this here. Something is wrong here. It is not coming. So variable log NP not found. Where is log NP? It is not found because I think I did not generate it. So let's see if it is done. Some Y level is not found. So there is a technical issue with this this one. So we are not going to use this. But then you can make changes. I can correct it and upload it again. So here you have combining bar graph together. So this is one bar graph, this is another one, and then you combine it beautifully together. So bar graph and then dot plots. I'm not sure how many of you have seen this kind of graph, but this is a dot plot. It looks like, you know, yeah, it's like a design. Horizontal box plot, population pyramid. So if you are interested in knowing distribution of the population pyramid is one graph that you can have. And in most of the population reports, like NFHS, census, you will see this type of graph, which tells you about, and this graph is so powerful that it can tell you a lot of stories. It can tell you about sex ratio in the country. It can tell you about aging. It can tell you about working population. It can tell you about dependency ratio. It can tell fertility rate, mortality rate, everything. So this is a very powerful graph if you're interested in demography or population related studies. And this tells a lot of things. And if you compare this across states, you can also see the distribution of males and females, and you can compare their sex ratio, because some states are having a better sex ratio than the others. So you can compare this and then see, like I can tell you that under 5, this number of males are more than number of females here, right? And this means that for children under 5, the population is skewed towards males because of the because of the son's preference in some of the states, right? But then if you go at the 80 to 84, more female than the male, right? So this is a US data, not India data, so don't worry about it, right? But then you can see here that you can see either it is because of the son's preference or it is because of some other reasons, So, but then if you look at this is called aging of, feminization, because those who are in 75 and 80, mostly women live longer than the men. So your basically distribution is skewed towards old age women. Okay, so you can tell a lot of story using this graph. I think I had left this one only, so I'll go through this. You can have a horizontal box plot as well, like this. This is non-union, this is union, and then you have different types of services, and you can compare across it. So graphs are very powerful if you use it. Okay. Now, how to make it? It's simple. It is just written for you, right? So graph bar is the command. Then you have these two variables, and then over which variable, it could be region, it could be gender, and then how much bar gap you want, gap between two bars. You have legend, you define your legend as July, and you have level 2 as January, and then Y title is this, overall title is this, subtitle is this, note is this, and delimit is this, and this is your data. So if you have this done, you will get this graph. Now, if you want to change it, you can always change it. If you don't want this average July and January, you can make it March and January temperature. It will be done. Okay, it's not March, it's March, M-A-R-C-H. Okay, so this is what I wanted to show you. The last thing I want to show you in 2-3 minutes is something that that is also important, which is combining data set. Sometimes you have 2-3 data sets that you want to combine together and make a master file. You will be basically using merge command, append command, and record link. Record link you will be using mostly with the like if you want to link two types of record, like someone, one department has birth related information, the other department has marriage related information. If you want to merge these two data sets, you have a rec link command. If you want to have let's say for India, you have state-wise data for all the 10, 20, 50 variables, and then you want to combine for all the states in the country, then you have append command. So what basically you will be doing is that you have data one for one state, then you will put like this. So like जैसे किताब को सजाते हैं, वैसे 1, book 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is append. When you are merging, you are basically merging like this. So something will be common here, something will be common. So these two data sets will have something common that we call it common ID, and then you will be merging like this. So if you have 10 variables here, 20 variables here, when you merge it, you will have 30 variables. If they are not same way, if same variables are not there. So basically this one is merge, this one is append, and then record linking is just like finding out some keywords and then link the record. Link record is very useful if you're working with the taxation and so on. You can find people who are having many PAN IDs, Aadhaar IDs, and so on. So you can match some of the like age, name, gender, and then you can actually say how many duplicates, how many people having a different, same person has a different Aadhaar card number, same person has different PAN IDs, how many people are hiding their bank accounts, and so on and so forth. Okay, so if you get command over this, you can, ask government that, I can now check for fraudulent behavior among taxpayers. Okay, so I will stop here. Everything is explained here, and I will give you the do file. You can do it, but then from my side, I think I'm done with the data management thing. And in the next class, we will do regression analysis, and we will do all sort of tests like multicollinearity, heterogeneity test, omitted variable test, Ramsey test, and we will see how regression we can do in Stata. So I'm sorry if I rushed it, but then I think I try my best. So I have no regret. Thank you. And see you in 5 minutes. How much time we are in?
Yes, yes, 5 minutes. It's fine.
5 minutes.
Now
right. So I will be available here. If you have any question or something, please you can ask me, or you can put in the chat box, and I will try to respond. So I'm not going anywhere. I'll be around.
Yeah, all participants stay here. We have one ET break, that is 5 minutes, 11:31 to 11:36.
Change your posture.
Yeah, yeah. Between time you can start any queries. So sir is available in this online also. Yeah, we will take some ET like EU break, like because we are in this pandemic situation, so we can't.
It's important.
Yeah.
It's important.
So you stay same link. So no need to can sign out or sign in. Stay here, and after
Excuse me, sir.
Yes, please.
Yeah, yes, sir.
Yes, please.
Sir, basically, I wanted to ask about rescaling of graph.
The scaling of graph.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
Right. So what kind of rescaling you want to do?
Yes, sir. Sir, a few months ago, I was trying to make a Lorentz curve on Stata. So
Right.
on the x-axis, I had cumulative percentage of population, and on y-axis, I have cumulative proportion of a certain variable.
Yep.
So I wanted to convert that cumulative proportion into cumulative percentage, which I was not able to do. When I Googled and used the Stata services, the only thing that I could found was about rescaling into logarithmic or reverse reverse scaling.
Right. So basically, in on x-axis you have number,
Yes,
and on y-axis you have proportion, right?
yes,
Right. So why don't you have percentage on the x-axis as well? You can convert both the things into percentage, isn't it?
yes, sir. Sir,
So that is one way of doing that.
hmm,
And the other way is that if you have big numbers, like you can take log. That is because log also gives you percentage, isn't it? So if you have that um, log difference, will give you uh, basically it will rescale your number. So you can take the log of that. So you can follow that norm. Like when we have an income, our expenditure, we generally take log, right?
yes, sir.
There are many advantages of that. One is that it rescaled
Hmm,
your values. Second thing is that now the difference between so a lot of heteroscedasticity, a lot of heterogeneity is also reduced because you are rescaling it using the log, right?
yes, sir.
So and third one is that sometimes income and expenditure is not normally distributed, but once you take the log, it become more normal, right? So why don't you take that? I think
Sir,
that is
yes, sir.
other way that you want to do is we can change the axis. Like have you seen the graph where there are axes on both the y, like this side and that side as well?
Yes, sir.
So you can use that and see if it works. So I really have no idea, but you can send me the data and I can help you. I can check your data. Like you can send a small sample of your data, um, and then we can work together.
Okay, sir. Sir, basically, it was a Lorentz curve.
Yeah. So Lorentz curve is between 0 and 1, right?
Yes, sir. And I wanted to convert that into percentage.
Yeah. So it will be 0 to 100, isn't it?
Yeah, yes, sir.
So whether you want to do 0 to 1 or 0 to 100, it is fine. You just have to multiply by 100, and it will be rescaled. So you take any graph. Let me just share you and see if you can do it here. So you take any graph that we made like just now. So let's say we make this graph. I think this use auto and then here. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Now, if you want to change this scaling here, you can always do like you can click here and then it says suggest number of ticks, a range, a minimum and maximum. Okay. So if you have minimum and maximum, it will take the data. If you have a range, minimum value you can have 0, maximum value you can have 100, and you can have 5 or 10 delta. Okay. So now you can see this has rescaled, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
So you'll have to try, like this one is, you can also rescale this one. Range, 15,000 is big number, right? So 15,000. And then you can have like delta should be, let's say 1,000. Delta is the change, right? How much you want gap.
Okay.
but then it looks like a very nasty. So what you can do is you'll have to also change the level properties. Tiny or something. See, but then it doesn't look good. So better to have 5,000 gap, because here we are not. So you can always change this. If you want to have suggested number of, let's say 4, let's say make 3. Now this is getting different, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
And then if you want to have suggested number of ticks, let's say 2, then it will change as well. So you can change the graph by just clicking here, and then you can work around. Sometimes you work with the minor axis, sometimes with the major axis, right? So, and there are different things here like scale. You can have a scaling here. So sometimes you can use logarithmic scale, sometimes you can use reverse scale, and see what is fitting here in your case.
Okay, sir.
You can see the huge logarithmic scale. Can you see?
Yes.
So let's use the logarithmic scale. Then what is happening? This one is becoming like this. So it doesn't make any sense, isn't it?
Yeah. Yes, sir.
So you will have to basically see what is required and what is not required. It should make sense as well. Yeah. So this is much better than that one. You got it? But then if this problem does not solve, let me know. I'll be happy to help you in that.
Okay, sir.
All good? Thanks for asking questions.
Thank you, sir.
Dear participants, if you have any query, please start up the open for and to the third session and session according yes, sir. Up to the because resource persons are available. Even Manoj sir is also, if you have any query,
Dr. Naidu, I think you are breaking up. I think there's some internet issues.
Yes.
I'm not sure whether I am
Yes, sir.
experiencing or it is from other sides as well.
Sir, you are not audible. We are not able to hear you.
So will you confirm, is it from his side or is it from my side?
Sir, it is from his side only because
side,
I'm
okay.
also not able to hear you.
That's better. Yeah, so if it's, I think it looks. Dr. Naidu, can you hear us?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Maybe some network glitches, some
Yeah,
technical
I know.
glitches. I'm also connected twice. Yeah, maybe we don't know exactly. Yeah. Now you are here. You are properly.
No worries.
Yeah.
So should we start?
Yes, sir. Please.
All right. Thank you so much. All right. So so this session, I want to do it in a different style. I don't want to show any PowerPoint slide. I want to do it. So if you have Stata with you, you can start. You can do with me. That should be fine. So I'll be going a bit slow, but then I will try to cover. So I assume for this session, and Dr. Naidu has assured me that you have understanding of basic regression analysis. You know OLS. You know some of the assumptions of OLS, and some of the tests for those assumptions. So I assume that if you don't, then you'll have to go back and read that. So in this section, it will be a bit. It is not advanced, but because I'm not sure, like, what is the level of the general audience, I'll go by what Dr. Naidu told me. All right. So the first thing that I want to tell you before I start is that most of the materials that I used in this session is from the Uldry's econometrics book. And this idea came because in the R studio, Dr. Chaudhary was mentioning about this book, and I thought that, oh, so if you can understand this, I can also use in my class. Now, most of you will be thinking that from where we will get that data, where we will get those books. So it is here, and I have, in my Google Classroom, I have given this link there. So it is freely available, and this is the book, chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, chapter 4. And then if you look into the data here, so you say obtain the data files, and you can click here and you can get it. Nice, it's just for purchase. But then you can. So best way of doing this is I go by like book examples in Stata. Okay, I'll search on Google, and then this states.idre.ucla. Basically, it is university website where I'll go, and then you will have a different. So if you want to have this econometric analysis, introductory econometrics, or econometrics using panel, there are 3 books that Uldry's has written. We will be using the econometric introductory ones because this one is quite advanced, and this one is also advanced given that it has so much of mathematical treatment. If you want to do survey sampling in Stata, if you want to do design of analysis, survival analysis, multivariate analysis, you have resource material here. And the best part of this website is that it uses data from the books. And also, if you read those books, those all chapters have examples. So those examples can be replicated using this one. Now, if you go by like see all books with textbook examples, so I'll go by this. I'll click here, and then I'll click here on the econometric analysis of cross-section and panel data, and then I'll get here.
Professor Manojji,
Yeah.
please share that link if it is possible. Then
I have already shared in my Google Classroom, but I'll also share in the chat box. This is what I have to do. Yeah. So here you go. All right. So now if you click here on chapter 4, let's say, you have all these data sets, right? And you have all these results. So if I have to do it, I will go and collect data from here. So I'll click here, Stata web. Okay. So I'm again sharing with you this. But if you go into my Google Classroom, I have already downloaded the data and put it there. So your life will be much easier. And here is the eacsap.zip. This is the file, and you just download it from here, and then your data is ready. So your data will look like this. If you open it, here, all this data is there. Okay, different data set. For my example, I will use this crime data. Okay, those who are in economics, you know that there is economics of crime. Because nothing happens without economics. Okay, you can have economics of marriage, economics of crime, economics of everything that you can think of, even economics of corona vaccine. Right now, you can see the political scenario had started changing since some countries have started, more vaccine program than the others. And then some countries have started producing more of the vaccines than the others. So there is always an economics of everything. So I will be using this economics of crime example from this data set. Okay. So, but then I wanted to tell you that if you are interested in this, you can go into the book chapter 4, and then you can have this here. So what I will be doing is, if I have to create do file, what I'm going to do is this. I think it should be easier. So I'll copy it, go to Stata, okay, and go to this. I will create a do file and I'll paste it here. You can see here, right? And then this is my command. This is the result. Okay, so this is the output. But if you want just all the commands here, I'll just select all the commands. I'm just giving you like how you, and I can create a beautiful do file using this. I don't need to do this, but then I'm just trying to demonstrate that you can use this book in this way. And then I'll move on to my stuff. Let's do this. Okay. And then it is chapter 4. All the examples of chapter 4 is here. So, and it's a big chapter. I use this book for my econometrics class. Quite nice book. Done. So my do file for chapter 4 is ready now. You can see it. Yeah. So my do file for chapter 4 is ready, and I'll just put it like this. Yeah. Now, if I use this, use M rows, clear, Basically, it is Amrose data. Amrose is a professor. He had done one study, and then this data comes from there. So I'll use this here. So mrose.dta is not found. Can I found it here? Can you see Amrose data here? Yes, it is here. Okay, so I will open this data instead of using that. So basically, here is your Amrose data. Okay. This data is about education, number of hours, husband, wife, father education, and so on. This is about the wage basically, and wage depends on so many factors you already know. Okay. So now the first step is done. The command use Amrose data, Amrose dot, but then because my data is in this location, I did the same thing here. Then in the next step, what this is doing is that REG command taking log of wage as a dependent variable and experience square, education, age. I don't know what this variable is. I'll see the label and then kids is above 6 or below 6, maybe below 6. Okay, so this is the regression we are doing. So because I'm not sure if all of you are comfortable with a regression, let me just explain what it means. See, we are using log of wage as dependent variable. If I remember correctly, Mr. Upadhyay asked question about scaling. There is a wage variable here, but we are using log wage because when you take log, then it helps you in solving many problems. Like, the difference between, let's say, 10, 100, 1000 is like 90, 900, 90, and so on. But then if you take log of 1, log of 10, log of 100, log of 100, and log of 1000, the difference is like 2, 4, and 6. So data becomes closer when you take log of any variable. And the advantage is that lot of heterogeneity within the data get removed by simply taking log. Okay. The other thing is that when you take log, as I mentioned, that sometimes the data becomes more normal than the other one. Here also, like, if you look into this data, like this is outlier, right? Clearly, this is 10, 100, 1000, 100,000. 100,000 is clearly an outlier. But if you take the log of 100,000, okay, then it is just 13. So if your data is 2, 4, 6, and 10, it is getting more closure. And so the issue of outlier can also be resolved if you take log of a variable in many cases. Not always, but in many cases, right? Another advantage of taking log is that, if you take log model, it gives you elasticity immediately, because then the coefficient is nothing but elasticity, isn't it? So having said that, we will follow what Uldrich had done in his book, regression analysis for this dependent variable, and then we are taking experience and experience square. Why we take square? Can anyone tell me? If you have access, you can unmute and tell. So experience and experience square, right? The reason why we take square is that if you take, let's say, only experience, not experience square, it means that you are expecting that there is a linear relationship between experience and dependent variable. Okay, but sometimes what happens is that, and here you are assuming that when experience is increasing, either your wage is increasing like with each increase in the wage, or it is decreasing. We really don't know the sign. But then when it comes to experience, it does not happen like there is a quadratic relationship generally, where as your experience increases, your wage increases, but then after some time, after few years of experience, your wage does not increase in the same rate as it used to increase when, and you can see in your, if you have some sort of work experience, or your parents or your friends and so on, you can see that increasing from 10 to 20,000 is easy, but then once you get 100,000 salary, then the increment becomes smaller, even though your experiences keep increasing. All right, so that's why we put experience square. Then you have education, then you have age, and then you have kids LT6. What is this? The label is given here. What is that? Okay, number of kids less than 6 years, and number of kids less than between 6 and 18. Why number of kids are important for your wage? Because sometimes you don't focus on your career when you have younger kids. Sometimes you don't focus your career when you have school going kids. So number of kids also explain a lot about your working environment and how much you work. And so sometimes they if they are adult, they can help you and you can spend more hours in your work, and so your growth will be faster sometimes. So we really don't know, because we don't know the data, we don't know the context. We can assume that there is some relationship between number of kids less than 6 years and number of kids between 6 and 18. Now in Stata, we run this regression. We got this here, right? And you know that experience is significant and positive, experience square is negative and significant, education is positive and significant, age is not significant, kids are not significant. In fact, number of kids, whether it is less than 6 or 6 to 18, have no association between with the wage. But then education, higher the education, higher is the wage. You can see here, right? Experience and experience square as well. So you can interpret it. I'm not going to teach you how to interpret all these numbers, but then this R square is 0.1582, which gives you degree of variation in this dependent variable due to these included explanatory variables. Then you have adjusted R square, because one of the property of OLS is that more variables you add, R square will keep increasing. If you don't believe me, you can just keep adding any variable, whether it makes sense or not. Okay, you will see that R square is more than point before. Now R square becomes 0.26. So sometimes when you just keep putting any nonsense variables into the model, R square keep increasing. So it can be misleading. But then what happens is that if a variable is not important, then in OLS you are penalized. Basically, your model is penalized and your R square is adjusted. So your R square is adjusted for your degree of freedom here, and then you always see adjusted R square less than R square. Okay, and then you have model sum of square, residual sum of square, and you have different degree of freedom and total sum of square. So if you do a sum of mathematics, R square you can calculate using this these numbers here, this number here. Okay, then you have t values, standard coefficient and standard error, and then t value and the p value, and then 95% confidence interval. So once you know the coefficient, once you know the standard error, basically t is what? Beta by standard error, right? So this divided by this is actually t value. Once you know the t value, you can calculate p value, right? Once you have t value and standard deviation, you have beta and t value, you have generally beta plus minus 1.96 standard error, and that will give you basically 95% confidence interval. Okay, so once you know this coefficient and standard error, you should be able to calculate t, p greater than mod t, and 95% confidence interval. Okay, and then you have intercept here, which is constant. So this regression command will give you all these numbers here. Okay, and I believe that there is a rule of thumb for, like, if t is greater than 2 or mod of t is greater than 2, then you can think that it will be significant. So you can see 2.55, definitely it will be significant, but it is minus 1.68. It is still significant, but at 10% level of significance, because at 10% it goes up to like minus 1.64 or plus 1.64. So one interesting thing here is that experience has positive sign and experience square is negative sign. So basically, if you just have some derivation of delta of log of ways with respect to experience, you will basically get this number here, and then minus 2 times, because if this is square, right? So experience square is minus 2 times experience. Yeah. So you can put mean of experience here, and then you have this coefficient. You can get the some sort of marginal effect of experience, or you can say you can actually neutralize it. Right? So done. So minus 27%, minus 27.96 is coming there. All right. So I'm not working more on the interpretation part because I assume you have done this. But then to have regression analysis, you can have this reg command with dependent and then set of independent variables. Simple. Okay. Now, next thing what Uldis have shown is that you want to test that the age variable, coefficient of age variable, this variable and this variable are jointly equal to 0. Sometimes what happens is that this is individually not significant. Age is not significant on its own. Kids SLT is not significant on its own. Kids of age 6 is not significant on its own. But then you can have a joint test if they are jointly 0. So age equal to 0, this equal to 0, this is your hypothesis. Now, here we use F test. So F test with 3 degrees of freedom, these variables, and 414, you can see here, this F here, right? So 414 is coming here because probability is greater than 0.05. You are not rejecting this null hypothesis. It means that they are jointly equal to 0. So now, if you think it appropriate to remove these, you can remove it. Okay. Then what Uldis did next is again he made it robust regression and then predict and so on. So this is how you can run and you can understand that. When I did here, in some of the comments also here, like you can see the command DevOps shows how to get robust estimation and so on. So it's a quite a useful resource. And let me tell you, when I started my career, I went through all these chapters and I tried to practice. So I expect that you will also be practicing and learning more from it. Not only this book, but these resources are also available for many other books. So if you like other books like this book, Applied Longitudinal Data Analysis, if you are working with the longitudinal data, if you are working with the qualitative response models, you can have a logistic regression. You go through this and you will have lot of support with this data, SAS, SPSS, and you just click it, download data, and then you can do it. So lot of resources. So one of the objective so far I just thought is to have these resources, and you should know. Okay, now I'll move to my own presentation, my own analysis, which I'll be doing with the crime data. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have this crime data here. So I open this crime data, and then I have this do file which I compile with. And we will do step by step how to. So first we will, so basically this session is in a way a revision as well, okay? And we have, I think, less than an hour to do everything. So I will be a bit fast in this session as well. So first thing I will do is, it is always a good practice to start with a log file. So I'm going to start a log file here. Manoj's final session. Said, right? 21. Okay, so whatever I will do now, it will be saved in this this log file. So first thing I did is in the I created a log file, which is this one. Now then I will you know, do some sort of renaming. You can see here the label variable, rename variable, rename already we know, generate we already know. So because we have already done this, let me just create this here. The region variable is not found. Why? Oh, okay. No worries. So do I have even a region here? No, there is no region variable here. It means that I'm working with the wrong data. So let me first change the data. It might not be from there. Here you go. This is my data. All right. So this is my data and this is my do file. So let me open the do file. Okay. So I'll create log file. I had this one, but then I'll just put one. Let it be there. And then we have this do file. Because we already know how to label, how to rename, I just created a couple of extra variables here. Okay, so I created the region one just to make sure that I'm not dealing with this region variable, and I'm working with this. Now, then, what is my research question? My research question is to see what are the factors that are associated with crime. Why crime? Why is, some variables are more are related with crime more than the others. Okay, but then before you go for the regression analysis, it is always good to have your trust in the data. That's very important. The second thing is that you have to create some variables that makes it your analysis better. Now I know that you remember the experience square relationship. I know that this crime rate is associated with the poverty. But then what happens is that if you have some small level of poverty, crime it does not affect crime directly. My guess is that once poverty rate goes beyond the threshold, then it affects more of the crime. So what I will do is I will generate poverty 2, a poverty square, let's say, or maybe poverty 2 is easier to write, and then I will create poverty square, because this does not exist in the data set. So now I have poverty square variable, which I want to use it. And then I will do, a dummy variable for the region, which is easy to do. I showed you that as well, that to create dummy variable for region. Why do we want to create dummy variable for region? Because it is a categorical variable. It has 1, 2, 3, 4. So 1 is north, 2 is south, 3 is west, and 4 is east. Now, categorical variable is of 2 types. One is nominal and other is ordinal. Okay. So in this case, it is nominal, because here you cannot compare that north is better than south or east is better than west and so on. So you cannot rearrange these numbers into, so 1, 2, 3, 4 does not mean that more is better. Okay. So if you are in economics, you know that the assumption of non-satiation, right? So more is always better. Here it is not, because it is not more. So 4 is not more than 1. It is just a symbol. So it's a nominal data. When it is a nominal data in your hand, you cannot use it in your regression. Okay. Just hold on for a second. My kids have started playing cricket in the house, so I'm getting some sort of sorry, they just thought that my class is over. They're quite disciplined, but then sometimes they forget.
And that
So yeah, so so I was telling that you cannot just use this in the regression directly. You have to create dummy variables for it. In Stata, I showed you that to create a dummy variable, you have tab, region, and then you have generate, and then you can give any name like the region, this, and then when you enter, you will have 4 different dummies here. So now I'm creating a dummy for it to use it. Okay. So this is what I did in this in this one here. I generated poverty and then the dummy variable here, right? Using this tab region. So everything is here, which I did. Now the second thing that I want to see is how my data looks like, because my probably main variable is poverty. I want to see the association of poverty with crime. I don't want to use the word effect or impact, because I'm conscious about causal relationship, right? Because correlation is different from causation. So I'll be using more words like association, relationship, correlation, and so on. And I will avoid the words like impact, effect, and so on. Okay, because for that we'll have to do more rigorous analysis. All right. So now I'll see how the relationship of crime and poverty is. Can you see it? It looks like upward, positive relationship. Like when poverty is going up, then crime is going up, but then beyond certain limit, it is like it is falling. So we really cannot say if it is a this linear relationship works better here. Okay, but then this graph tells you that we can try poverty and also poverty square, because there is some sort of, in the latter part, there might be some non-linearity involved in it. Okay? So that gives me some idea about how to fit my model and how to choose my model. And then I will do some sort of like descriptive statistics, let's say, just to check if this variables is, we are working here, so one command at a time. Yeah, so it looks like it is scattered around region 2 more. So your mode is in the region 2. So that's fine. So that also gives me an idea. And then now I will plot this crime rate. So this is not normal, definitely. This is a positively skewed data. We have violent crime rate. Okay. So this gives me some sort of understanding about the distribution of my dependent variable. And then I can go for like descriptive statistics and summary and so on that we already covered. Now I will go on the next level and I will say like pairwise correlation between dependent variable and the variables that I want to put it. So all right. Now this will give me, this will also give me significance of correlation coefficients. So here poverty and crime has a positive correlation and it is significant at 5% level because I have put star only for 0.05. So it is at 5%, the relationship between poverty and crime is significant and it is positive. The single variable is the single parent. Now, children with single parents are more likely to be involved in the crime. Okay? But again, depending on the context and the country. Then you have the region. I think region 1, region 2, region 3, it is not significant. So basically, region variable doesn't seem to be significantly correlated with the crime. Okay, so this gives me some idea about what I'm going to do. So now let's start with the regression. So REG, then dependent variable, and then I want this poverty, single, and so on. So this gives me the OLS result. And here I found that poverty is not significant, region is not significant. The only thing significant is the single percentage of single parents. Okay, and that is positive. It means that the states where proportion of single parents are higher have higher crime rate. Okay, now whether this crime rate is because of the single parenting is something you cannot tell from this regression because this only tells you at its best is the correlation, not the causation. For causation, you'll have to do some sort of like, you'll have to have endogeneity test, you'll have to do control for some more key variables and look into so many other factors. So I'm not going into that. The Stata is, Stata will basically use crime as a dependent variable and all these others as explanatory variables. Okay. So what I will do is I will put some more variables. I will just put some more variables like murder and percentage white. Because you remember this data is coming from US. And in US, a lot of literature is about the racism, right? And more so also like crime is often people always say that this particular race is involved in more crime and this particular race involved. It happens everywhere, right? Even in Delhi, you say okay, guys from this state are more criminal than this state, and this community is more than this and that. Okay, so let's test this. And how to test that? Like we put percentage white now and see if the area where percentage white population is more have also more or less crime rate. And also murder is, if murder is one of the significant crime or not. So we'll put this together. And what we found is that now poverty remained insignificant, not significant, single is still significant, but these are the two regional dummies. I just, Stata already omit one of the reference category if you put all the n categories here. Now, murder is as a crime is one of the important component of the crime rate here. It's an important contributor of the crime rate. So it is also significant, but percentage white is not significant. It means that when population with white race is, if their proportion is higher, it has nothing to do with crime, basically. So you overruled that hypothesis that share of a particular race in the entire population is a significant contributor. Okay, so we just fine tune our OLS model here basically, and we are trying to put more variables. We can also in fact look into percentage high school graduates. We can also put percentage metro. Yeah, but then percentage white and these are not significant. Now percentage metro is, so if you have a higher percentage of population in the metro, then crime rate is high. So basically metros are more prone to crime. This is what it means. But now the poverty is also significant, you can see here. Okay, and then you will see that your R square and adjusted R square would also be improving from 83% to now it is 91% and 88%. So we are not going only by this because sometimes R square and adjusted R squares are misleading, as I mentioned before, more so R square. But then if you have more variables coming significant, it means that you can try with other variables. Because if it is not captured by, so what this model says is that 91% of the variation in your dependent variable is because of the is caused by the explanatory variables included in this model. But then still 9%, 8% variation is not captured. And where that variation is going, that variation is captured in the error term, right? Whatever is not captured by your explanatory variable is basically going into a dustbin, which you call it error term or residual, right? So you can keep changing. I can put poverty square now because I'm now more encouraged to, I'm happy to see that poverty is significant, even though it is significant at 10%, now it is positive and significant, which makes me happy. But then I'm also investigating if non-linearity or the quadratic relationship between poverty and crime exists, which makes sense. It means that when poverty increases, crime increases. But then when poverty is beyond the threshold, it might increase, but then the rate of increment is now lower. Okay, and which you saw in the scatter plot that we did. So basically this result is validating our graphical representation as well. And that's why I always, it might take time, but then whenever you are going, someone is saying to run a regression, you don't go for regression straight away. You look into the graph, you look into the descriptive statistics and try to understand the story. Once your story is clear, you will be, your wisdom will improve in selecting your explanatory variables. Okay, so this comes with the with experience. But then if you have a if you keep this in your habit, it will be like it's a good habit. All right, so right now, once your regression is done, you can have some tests. You can have these tests like if the coefficient of poverty and murder are equal. So test poverty is equal to murder, means poverty is beta 1 Like if you are good in visualizing with the mathematical, like y equal to beta 0 plus beta 1 x1 plus beta 2 x, here power t is beta 1, coefficient of power t is beta 1 is equal to murder, which is 1 2 3 4 5 6 7. So basically beta 1 is equal to beta 7. This is the hypothesis you are testing, and your F test tells you that yes, they are significantly different. So coefficient of murder and power t are significantly different. And why we are doing, what is intuition behind it? The intuition is that sometimes you see that power t is as good, as important contributor as murder or murder rate. Okay, but then here our test is saying that no, they are not equally important. They are significantly different. The coefficients are significantly different from each other, and they're different from 0. Okay, so they both are significant and they are different. Okay, so the only one command used is test. Now you can put like, is power t equal to 0? Means is beta 1 equal to 0? No, because it is significant, right? But then I want to show you something very interesting. Now here, it is 15.37 and it is 0.0003. And this is giving you, sometimes you do it like a wall test. If you remember, in some softwares, it is called like, they also give you wall test sort of things. So you should not be worried. This. Now, let's look into something which is not significant. So I'm interested in, before doing this test, I know that the p-value will be more than 0.1, right? Because it is this variable is not significant there, so it will not be significant here as well. You can see here, p is 0.2429. Okay, and this value is close to here, 0.243. So 0.2429. Basically, it is giving the same value as here. You can check here, like this is 0.543. Now let's check it. See, 0.543. So basically, if you have this regression result, you don't have to do this test, because if you ask me what will be the F value when you do PCT white equal to 0, I will immediately tell you 0.543. I don't have to do this test. Okay, so this is the trick that you can see, and it is not trick, actually it's fact, because both probabilities will give, that under certain circumstances T and F are related, right? So this is what is happening. The T value and F value here are actually same. So what we learned so far, how to do regression, and then how to test equality of coefficients, how to test if a coefficient is equal to 0. So basically you are testing null hypothesis beta 1 equal to 0 or beta 1 equal to beta 2. And the first one we did is beta 1 equal to beta 2. And you can have a beta 3 as well. So let's say I put beta 3 equal to beta 4 and so on. And you know that it has F test. So basically, jointly they are significantly different from 0. Okay. So they're important variable. You cannot just remove them from there. So two things we completed. Now we are going to complete. We are going to predict y hat. Okay. So if I may write it. Here. So this predict command will create you y hat. So you know that y hat equal to what is the formula for that? Beta 1 hat x1 plus beta 2 hat x2 bar plus beta 3, and that gives you the equation with predicted y, and this command will give you predicted value. Okay, so basically you have this crime hat, and you can see in the data. So one variable is created with crime hat. Basically, you have created y hat here. Okay, y like crow. Okay, so I read it as y hat. Now, if you want to, if you're interested in predicting residual, UI hat, then you can have just RES. Okay, so predict, but because crime hat is there, I'll just put crime residual here, and then it will predict another variable, which is your UI hat. Now you know the relationship between crime hat, crime, and this one. So let me just edit crime hat, and crime. So I hope everyone knows the relationship between these three. Crime, which is Y, crime hat, which is Y hat, and crime residual is U hat. Okay. So basically, if you add these two, Y hat and U hat, you should get this here, Y, because you know the relationship Y equal to Y hat plus U hat. Okay. In other words, Y minus Y hat. So basically, U hat is what? U hat is Y minus Y hat. So now you can check your result manually as well, whether Stata is predicting a residual term and the linear prediction same or not. Okay, so that part is done. Now the next thing is we are going to check some of the conditions. One of the OLS assumption is that expected value of UI given xi equal to 0, isn't it? And what does it mean? It means that the conditional mean of residual is over the conditional on your explanatory variable is 0. Okay, so how will you do that? We know we have U hat. Okay, so why so many files? Okay, so now it means that if this is the crime residual, if I will find mean of crime residual, it must be equal to 0. Okay, so I will do sum, means summary. Okay, if you are not interested, like summarize command, and then crime hat. What you are expecting, it should be, if it is following that assumption, expected value of UI given xi equal to 0, it must be very small number, close to 0, if not 0. Okay, you can see here mean is 2.38 into 10 to the power minus 8, which is very, very small number. Okay, so this means that one of the assumption that we had in OLS, which is expected value of UI 0, makes sense. Now another assumption is that there is a 0 covariance between UI and XI. That is another assumption of OLS. How will you test it? Simple. What is your regression? Where is your regression that we did? We did this regression, right? And we have, so basically you have UI. Where is UI? We created this UI hat, and then these are the explanatory variables we have, xi. So correlation between, because correlation command gives you covariance. Okay, it should be 0. You can see, right? It's quite 0, isn't it? It means that that assumption is valid, where you have residual has 0 correlation, or it's very close to 0 with all the explanatory variables. So that assumption is also valid. So we check two assumptions. One assumption is expected value of UI given xi equal to 0, and that assumption leads to the covariance one, which is covariance of ux equal to 0. Okay. And then we will check normality of residuals. Like we know that your residual the predicted residual should be normally distributed, isn't it? That is one of the assumptions. So how will you do that? We have three ways of doing that. One is the kernel density estimation. We can look into that. The other one is the normal probability plot, PP plot. And the third one is Q norm. And then we also do statistical analysis called Shapiro-Wilk-W test. So Shapiro-Wilk-W test actually test for normality of residual. So let's start with the kernel density. Why? Okay. So kernel density estimation for U hat, we have given something else. So let's start with the U hat. Basically, I'm going to rename this crime residual as U hat so that you can. So now that variable has become crime U hat, and so so basically normal density is red one, and then the blue one is the kernel density estimate. It looks quite close, but then their mean is different, right? So this is not very clear whether it is normal distribution or not, whether it is normally distributed or not. So I am using another command just to make sure that it is called P norm. Basically, it gives you PP plot. Okay, normal standardized normal probability plot. Standardized normal probability plot, PP plot. And the command for this is P norm and then the variable. So we are going to check this. It will give you like linearly a linear line, and if your data is normal, your data points will be on that line. So let's look into this. Yeah. Well, if it is perfectly normal distribution, then this is your the middle line should be there. But then it doesn't look like at this stage, like it's not perfectly perfectly linear. Okay, so it means that our model, we are trying to just predict it and check it if those assumptions are loosely following. We cannot say much from here. I think someone is raising hand.
Professor Bono.
Yeah.
Yeah. Someone is raising hand. Praise Ahmed. Yeah, he's economics lecturer.
Okay.
Yeah.
Please go ahead.
Hello,
Ahmed,
sir.
please share your doubt.
Yes, Dr.
with this person.
Yes, Dr. Fayaz.
Hello, sir. Actually, I want to know that you talked about K density and normal distribution, वगैरह, and I want to know, can we plot this log normal distribution, gamma distribution in Stata, as I am working on the income distribution?
Yes. Yeah. I'm
working on income distribution, and I want to do this the power type of distributions.
Yeah, you can plot it. So there are ways of doing this. One is like you go into the graphics.
Yes, sir.
And then you have regression diagnostic plots. If you find it here, otherwise there are so many final data plots, time series plots, distributional plots that you are like. I can see here you have normal quantile plot, normal probability plot, chi-square quantile, histogram bar, spike plot. So distributional asymmetric plot, distributional plots are here. But if not, then it is always easy to know from here. Right? So let's say, can I have a gamma plot in Stata? Okay, and then you see this. You will find it. This is a command that Stata module to generate probability plot for is called gamma fit. This is not probably this this command is not inbuilt in Stata, but then someone has written it and you can always bring it back. I think this guy, Nick Cox, he is Jim in Stata. So he keep writing those external, so you can download it and you will have a Ardo file and you can bring it into it, and then yeah, you can do it basically. So I can share this this link with you. It should work. If not, then please feel free to contact me, and I'll be happy to work with
Okay,
you.
sir. Okay, sir. Actually, I am working on inequality from I think last 5 and 6 years, and
Right.
I know me and this Dr. Naidu, we were together in JNU last year in 2018, I think so, during the workshop.
Yeah,
And
right.
actually, I'm working on this, but I want to move from this economics to this called the mm, statistical physics. That I want to use this the concept, this concept, particularly this log distribution and gamma distribution, log normal distribution. I have read many of this literature about it, but on I am trying to use this in software, particularly or this Stata, but I'm not getting how to plot these things, this group wise,
But
or you can say right.
I think you should be able to do that, like P gamma. So if I go here and then try to seek help like P gamma, okay? Let's see what Stata is saying. Um, it is saying basically that P gamma is not available inbuilt. So when I open and I try to write it, it will not. I'll have to go here, click here, and then I'll have to install it basically. So now I'm installing, it is verifying. Yeah, so basically now if I will ask help from Stata, it will give me better. So here is the command, and then you can go through this paper and you will have a data and you can practice. So basically P gamma spacing. So let me see if it is working, because I don't have data. Spacing is not. So if you have let's say instead of spacing, I'm putting this power T, command gamma fit is unrecognized. So help. So now I'll have to install gamma fit, because that program is depending on the gamma fit, which is not in Stata, but then someone has written that program outside Stata. And that's the beauty of Stata, because even if you're something not in Stata, you can always see. This is the gamma plot for power T variable. Did you get a sense like it is possible here?
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
If
Thank you,
something
sir.
so basically this diagram is not kernel density, not normal probability plot, but this is actually a gamma. So you can see gamma fit of this power T variable. So if you are looking for like this one, an interpretation and all, please follow through that. I think there is a famous paper by Nick. I think he wrote in 2005 sometime. Yeah, I think this one here. So speaking Stata density probability plots, and you can see here a number of things that will be useful for you, like empirical and theoretical. So please go through this paper, and you will have, like, that one is normal. This is an exponential sample, right? This one is gamma and log normal and y-bull distribution. You can see here, right? So when I was doing my MPhil in biostatistics, we did a lot of y-bull distribution, gamma distribution, log normal distribution, because in reliability and also in biostatistics, you use these distributions more often in getting survival analysis and so on. So in Stata, definitely it is possible. Stata also has, I think that section will be like the biostatistics, where it is. They call it Okay, I'm not able to see it here. Yeah, survival analysis here. So some of the graphs you will see here are also, they use non-parametric functions like Kaplan-Meier survival function and so on. So basically it is possible in Stata. The only thing is that it might not be available within Stata. So you'll have to basically, these are the foreign programs, you'll have to bring it, and it's easy. Like I bought 2 programs and probably you did not realize it, right? So, but anyway, if you have issues with that, please write to me and I'll see if I can help you. Thanks for your question.
Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yep.
Sir, kindly share this paper on Google Classroom.
Yes, that's a good point. So basically, can I do attachment? Let me check if it is. What I will do is I will put it on my Google Classroom. Maybe it will be easier. But otherwise, I'm not sure if we can. Can we can we attach PDF in Google, in this chat box? I'm not sure. Let me try. Oh, file is here. It's very good. So my computer, where it was, the download. I think this one. Okay, I'll do it later. Maybe I don't know where it is.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir.
It is here. Okay, I'll do it later. But then that is possible, and I'll send you email as well if you send me message. If you send me your email ID. So we were there, and then we have a statistical test which is called Shapiro-Wilk test, and yeah, so Shapiro-Wilk test says that this null hypothesis for normality is not rejected. So it is, even though it is slightly non-normal, but it is within the acceptance range. Okay, so we can say that that assumption of normality is approved. It is weakly approved, but it is approved. Okay, then we have variance inflation factor to test for our multicollinearity. Okay, so VIF is the command. So we do because our regression has changed. So now VIF, variance inflation factor. If variance inflation factor is more than 10, we suspect that there is a multicollinearity issue. But here it is less than 10, so multicollinearity is ruled out. Now the next assumption is about model specification, whether we have a specified model or not, and we go through link test. So basically link test is the command which we use to test model specification assumption. Now here we see that underscore hat, which is basically u, and this is underscore hat square, which is basically u square. And we see that hat is significant, but hat square is not significant. It means that we can fairly say that model is well specified. Okay. So, and the idea here is that what they do is that you have a regression of like y is equal to let's say beta 1 times u hat plus beta 2 times u hat square. And if u hat square, if you run this regression, and if u hat square is significant, it means that model is not specified. There is some issue. But then this link test says that this is not significant, so model is well specified. So we can actually approve that the test is passed. Then finally we got for like this omitted variable test, which is Ramsey test, famous Ramsey omitted variable test. We do OV test here. Now, when we do OV test, omitted variable test, it's quite intuitive, isn't it? O for omitted, V for variable, T for test, test for test. So omitted variable test is OV test. Now, here null hypothesis is that model has no omitted variables, which is rejected by our p-value. So it means that model has omitted variable problem. Okay. So now your job has gone up to a different level, but I just ignore this and I'll put maybe some other variables and see if that problem is solved. If not, then yeah. So it is basically getting weaker, but still there is a omitted variable issue here. Okay. So I'll just ignore because I don't want to solve it now. But then if it is in your real situation, you'll have to solve that problem because models should be well specified and omitted variable bias should be reduced. Then one final thing which students find always to read it, even the word heteroscedasticity. Okay. And it took for me like long time to read it properly. So homoscedasticity and heteroscedasticity, and I'm not sure whether I am pronouncing it even correct today. Okay, but then this is one of the things that hits to the econometrics students. So this is a head test. It's called heteroscedasticity test, and this will give you basically Bruce-Pagan test. So Bruce-Pagan is my econometrics professor at the ANU, not Pagan, but Bruce. And he retired when I was doing my PhD. I think almost final year he retired, and he gave me a lot of econometrics books, lot of old classical econometrics books, which is still in my store. So what Bruce-Pagan did is that they tested the null hypothesis. This is also called Cook-Wishberg test because these two people also work on a similar line, and the test is similar. Okay, so Bruce is Bruce, and his full name is Trevor Bruce and A. Pagan. So basically, these two are different people, but they jointly co-authored this paper. So they use chi-square test to test if there is a constant variance. Variance of ui is equal to sigma square, if you remember. Here, that null hypothesis is not rejected because probability value of chi-square is greater than 0.10. It means that heteroscedasticity is not a problem in our regression. But if heteroscedasticity is a problem in our regression, you can resolve it either using this robust regression method, where you will basically, if suppose there is a heteroscedasticity, then you just put comma and robust. And then you get, basically you change the normal standard error to robust standard error. And once this standard error change, then coefficient divided by standard error also change. So t value change, then p value change, and then this. So basically, when there is a heteroscedasticity, your standard error is no more valid, right? It is you cannot trust your standard error here. So what you do in the robust approach is that basically you will make this standard error robust and calculate your t value, p value again. This will impact your some variables like power t was significant earlier, but now it is no more significant. But then you can safely say that it has less element of heteroscedasticity than in the normal OLS version. But also, if it is very important to resolve this heteroscedasticity issue, you can forget about the OLS and you can move to feasible GLS or 2SLS and so on, so forth. So that you can do in feasible, and basically in feasible weighted least square, what you do is you run your regression, you predict your residual, and then you generate log of residual square, and then you take this as a dependent variable and run on the same set of explanatory variables, get another prediction for this log of u hat, and then and then you generate exponential of this and put it here as a weight. So basically you manually you can do feasible GLS or feasible weighted least square estimation to resolve that issue, but that is beyond ordinary least square method. So now that I'm conscious about the time, it's 6:30, and before Dr. Naidu asked me to stop, I would like to take 5 more minutes where, and I want to just complete. I just want to actually summarize what we did so far. So we started at 10 o'clock, and I promised you that today we will be working on the data management. We will be looking into the graphics. We'll be looking into the combining data. Graphics, we did fine. We did fine with the data management, but merging, append, etc. is not, but it's easy. It's not difficult. And all the materials are on the Google Classroom. So please go through that. And if you have any questions, you can ask me, and whenever I get time, I'll respond to it. Then in the second session, I specifically tried to demonstrate your econometrics and basic econometrics, basically. So what we did, we ran the regression. Before regression, we did some sort of diagnostics. We looked into our data. We tried to graph it. We tried to label it. We tried to generate new variables. And then once we are ready for the regression, we run first OLS regression. We did correlation between variables. We looked into different assumptions. So one of the assumptions we checked into is expected value of ui given xi is 0. Then we looked into the zero correlation assumption. We looked into multicollinearity test. We did heteroscedasticity test. We did omitted variable test. We did link test, which is basically model specification. We did normal test. Yeah, and then we also looked into if there is a heteroscedasticity, you can do a regression with robust error, or you can move into feasible GLS, which is generalized least squares, or feasible weighted least squares estimation. So basically, I think I'm satisfied person today. I almost finished everything which I learned in many years, but then I understand that sometimes teaching is easier than learning. So I understand that some of you must be feeling that it's too much and you did not understand much from it. But then you can practice on your own. I will share these do files. You can just open your data and you can just run like this. You can run like this and check, read your econometrics books, and importantly, just like I search here, how to do heteroscedasticity. So let's say we do heteroscedasticity test in Stata. Okay, then you will find some videos here. You watch those videos. If you're not comfortable with the videos, you have some help here, Stata list help, and then lot of people are there to help you. So you are not alone, and I'm not the only one who is teaching you. There are many people who are spending hours and hours to help researchers and students across the world to learn this data and do the analysis. Because at the end of the day, what matters is if you are contributing to the world through your research and through your data analysis or not. Okay, so I'll thank you. I thank you everyone for your patience. Some of you wanted to speak, I can understand, but then because you were mute, you could not. So I apologize for that. And yeah, let's be in touch. We can organize something better again. All right. So I will stop here and thank you, Dr. Naidu, for your support.
Thank you so much.
Just say one. Yeah, Shubhi, tell me. Yeah.
Thank you so much, sir, for taking out the time. And all the participants can unmute themselves. So if they have any doubt or they want to talk to Manoj, sir, they can unmute themselves and ask them the questions.
Yeah, please.
So I don't think anybody has any doubts.
Yeah, they are tired, I think. They are hungry. That's fine. That's fine. They can always ask question through the Google Classroom. So
It's really very good, sir. We are giving the some platform who can discuss anytime to that Google Meet. So maybe that reason participants are in mute. So anyway, sir, I think I'm very much thankful to you to took up time for us in a busy schedule. I know very well. Right, sir. So and last two sessions were very wonderful session and it's very helpful to all of us, teachers, scholars, and students as well, because the students are ongoing the research project as well in a research uh, research methodology paper. I think it's very helpful to us, and particularly those who are doing the research in a particular field and different areas. And also, it's very enlightening, and throughout sessions is very helpful to us. You can learn how you can using these models and how to can write taking that data and how to can find out the errors and the data analysis and analyzing the data with the graphs, different graphs. And the more importantly, I think sometimes we will stuck with that data where we have to find the particularly secondary data, because in this pandemic situation it's not possible to can conduct the primary data, but most of the researchers, the students will go for the secondary data, right? I think all the participants are thoroughly enjoyed this last two sessions, yesterday and today sessions. And thank you very much, sir. It's very grateful to you to can took up time to us.
thank you. Thank you so much.
Next session we have the R Studio. That's a fourth session. So I hope continue this session after the some break, 5 or 10 minutes. Most probably will start at 1:15. So see you, sir. We'll see you at the end of the program. Please join us to the validation validatory function.
Yeah, I'll definitely join. And I would like to say that if someone is struggling with the secondary data, let me tell you that there are a lot of secondary data that is available for free. So if more of your students and other researchers are struggling, we can organize some workshop where I can demonstrate how can you get data from different countries,
Yes.
From different sources and so on and so forth. So data is not a problem nowadays. The problem is the research. Problem is like how much time you are spending and what capability you have. So there should not be any excuse to anyone that data is not available. It's a lot of data is available. Unless you want to do something path-breaking research where you want to collect your own data, but that's a different thing. But otherwise, data is not an issue. So we can keep in conversation, and then if anyone has any issue, please write to me, and I'll try to, and maybe we can formalize this by having a workshop on how to work with this. So I can show you data from China, South Africa, Australia, all free. India, India has also a lot of survey data which are free, lot of time series data which is free, state-wise data. Just that we have to look into that. Thank you so much. But otherwise, I really enjoyed, and yeah, I forgot that it is weekend. So today morning, someone said today is Sunday, and I said, what? It looks like a working day. So yeah, but then I'm happy to contribute to towards skill and things like that. This is our job, and I'll keep doing that. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Sir, we are academicians who always to do the work given holidays also, because we are the learners who can. We are the teachers.
We have no holidays.
Holidays, yes.
After this, I have to review a couple of papers for journals.
Thank you, sir. I think.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you, Apula Naidu sir.
Yes,
thank you. I'll join the last session. And participate in the R Studio as well.
Yeah,
thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Yeah. Welcome, sir. Please. Thank you. Yeah, Subhi.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank
Thank
you.
Yes, so thank you so much, sir. It was
Thanks,
very nice having you, and it was a wonderful session. And we are now going to have a 10 minutes break. So we will start like by 1:15 or 1:20 with the R Studio workshop.
Fourth session.
Thanks, Subhi, and a special thanks to all organizing students, like in the organizing committee. They have no excuse of. I mean, others can run away from the session if it is boring, but they don't have option, I think. So thank you very much for your participation, Subhi and others. Yeah, it went really well. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Yeah. Please, dear participants, please left this room, this session, then can start at next session at 1:20. 10 minutes break for lunch. So we'll see you on 1:20. Thank you very much to all. Thank you very much.